81 minutes erased $500 million of art, yet the night ended quietly, with duct tape and empty frames. How did two fake cops walk past greater treasures and still change history? Boston, March 18, 1990, after midnight, a museum asleep beneath snow-muted streets, and a buzzer pressed by two strangers in blue. They are dressed as Boston police officers, badges flashing under the vestibule light, claiming a disturbance inside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. In the security booth, Rick Abath hesitates, protocol whispering no, anxiety shouting yes, as the intercom crackles with authority. He breaks the rule that exists for moments like this, unlatching the door, and lets the knight walk inside wearing a smile. The men claim he has a warrant, a legal blade pressed between truth and fear, and they lure him away from the panic button. Power changes hands with the confidence of routine, as wrists meet duct tape, ankles follow, and the basement becomes a temporary grave for movement. Two guards, overpowered, bound and blindfolded, listening to footsteps above them, measure out the minutes that will become legend. Upstairs, time stretches, thin and elastic, over 81 minutes that will be studied, doubted, mapped, and still refuse to knit a clean line. 13 works vanish in that hour and change, the air seemingly swallowing frames like a magician's cloth over a disappearing statue. Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, sliced from its canvas like thunder cut from a sky, leaves a scar of missing paint. Vermeer's The Concert, an inward domestic world, gone with a single decision that erased the few Vermeers we have left. Degas' sketches slip easily into the thief's arms, light as breath, while a Chinese gu passes from ceremony to shadow. A Napoleonic eagle finial is taken too, a small emblem lifted like a signature flourish at the end of a criminal stanza. The thieves are not hurried, they are unhurried, moving with choreographed cool, turning their backs on alarms that never sing. They walk past more valuable paintings, including Titian's The Rape of Europa, and choose other pieces the market would not rank higher. What did they know, and what were they told? To choose the less obvious ransom notes and leave the crown jewels glowing unattended. When they leave, they take only the paper printouts from the motion detectors, ignoring the hard drive that quietly remembers everything. Morning finds empty frames still on the walls, because Isabella Stewart Gardner's will demands the museum never change its arrangement. So the absence must be displayed, like a missing tooth that insists on being smiled with, a wound framed as hope. The value whispered to the world, over $500 million in stolen art, a single long breath taken from culture. The museum doors reopen eventually, and visitors stand before absence, reading captions that describe ghosts, listening to guards rehearse the facts. The FBI arrives with time-tested questions and brand-new hunches, treating hallways like tiny timelines, each corner a turning of the page. Evidence builds and dissipates, like fog rising from the Charles, revealing a shape only to smother it again in pale uncertainty. They examine the tapes, the logs, and the human details, where a hand trembled, where a voice steadied, where a lock accepted failure. They trace the rumor lines from Boston's underworld to the mid-Atlantic, following whispers that take on firm shoes just long enough to step away. In March 2013, the FBI announces they believe they know who did it, tied to organized crime from New England to the mid-Atlantic. They also believe both original thieves are dead, and that the art slipped into criminal circuits, handled like currency, leverage, or favor. The names surfaced over decades: Carmelo Merlino, David Turner, Robert Gentile, characters in a cast that never gets a curtain call. No one is charged for the theft itself, as if the night refuses to testify, the building itself choosing silence over clarity. Immunity is offered, return the art, no prosecution, and alongside it, a $10 million reward that hangs like a beacon through murky water. The museum offers more, a separate $100,000 for the Napoleonic finial alone, a small, potent prize for a small, potent emblem. The director of security, Anthony Amore, repeats the mission with quiet steel. It is our sole purpose to bring them back. Inside the galleries, the threadbare truth is displayed honestly. Gilded frames around nothing, labels like disembodied voices introducing invisible guests. What does it mean to curate absence? To talk about paintings that are not there? To sell tickets to a riddle on walls? Even the duct tape from that night becomes a symbol. Plain, utilitarian, and in its gray hush, impossibly loud. Rickabath remains the human hinge of the night, the deciding moment, a pivot between protocol and persuasion, and a key history cannot stop turning. Was he unlucky, careless, manipulated, or simply human in the face of practiced authority under the neon of an untroubled morning? The hard drive that recorded the thieves' movements becomes a quiet witness, a memory palace where the thieves cannot control the lighting. We see their path like a constellation inside the building, choreographed stops at galleries that defy the math of maximum profit. Why pass Titian and clasp Degas? Why ignore guaranteed rainmakers and choose a Vermeer that is priceless, yet strangely inconvenient to fence? One theory says the shopping list was commissioned, the way a song is requested in a bar, with cash and a careful wink. Another says the thieves understood leverage better than valuation, preferring pieces that could long-term bargain, less policed, more portable, more psychologically negotiable. Organized crime turns art into a passport, a bond, a key under the mat for locked doors you cannot otherwise open or close. Paintings become language in those circles, a vocabulary of favors, debts, and pressure, points whispered across tables without using names. If the thieves died, the words remain, hidden in attics, storage units, handoffs that felt routine at the time, now petrified by fear. Here's the pivot in our case file. The heist never ended. It just changed temperature, from hot pursuit to slow, unnerving endurance. Consider the empty frames again, as if they are protest placards, insisting the conversation not drift, a gallery refusing amnesia. In the Dutch room, Rembrandt's storm still rages in the mind, the boat forever missing not just from the wall, but from the world. Vermeer's quiet domestic scene is now the loudest silence in Boston, a hush that echoes across 3 decades and counting. The museum's will preserves the arrangement, a time capsule of loss, which means the city wakes each day to a reminder that stings. A $10 million reward is not just money. It is a map drawn in ink that glows whenever a conscience flickers warmer than fear. Immunity from prosecution opens a door that many cannot afford to walk through, because one truth rarely arrives without companions. Return the art, and questions follow like shadows. Where has it been? Who carried it? And what else travels with it in confession? FBI agents know this calculus, offering the deal anyway, knowing the real negotiation is with shame, legacy, and family safety. There were sightings, rumors of storage units in Connecticut, whispers of basements, a painting briefly shown like a mythic fish before disappearing into deeper water. Names press the glass, but none leave fingerprints the law can love, and the calendar turns without clanking handcuffs to punctuate its months. In public interviews, investigators speak carefully, steering between optimism and honesty, refusing to light false candles but keeping a steady lamp in the window. Meanwhile, the museum guards their emptiness, as watchful over missing canvases as they are over the ones that remain, each absence counted nightly. The cultural loss multiplies with time. New generations know the paintings first as legends, then as photographs, then as temples built on air. The psychology of the thieves interests me more than their faces, because faces die but decisions breed, and this night birthed a citywide habit of wondering. Why 81 minutes, not 60 or 120? Why methodical then impulsive? Why meticulous enough to take printouts and careless enough to miss the hard drive? Perhaps competence is always uneven under pressure. A master class beside a blunt mistake, the way a chess grandmaster sometimes blunders an obvious pawn. Or perhaps the confidence of costumes made them feel invulnerable, the way a uniform makes doors open and doubts temporarily retire from duty. Rick Abbott warrant gambit lingers like a fable about authority, how posture and tone can trim the edges of disbelief until it fits. In the basement, bound guards measured the heist in muffled sounds, cataloging the theft by the shape of footsteps and the sigh of doors. Upstairs, the thieves cut canvas, rolled history into portable cylinders, weighing the risk of provenance against the convenience of tube and trunk. No alarms screeched, no cavalry stormed the entrance. The museum remained a sleeping house whose dream went bad, but never woke, screaming. For 35 years and more, reporters returned to the same stairwell, pressing palms against the banister as if heat might still cling there. Artists painted homages to absence, songs name-checked missing masterpieces, and a city learned that some stories have a center made of fog. Investigators tested theories like keys in a stubborn lock, some turning a little, none yet clicking the bolt into place with finality. A strange truth emerged. The heist may be solvable, but recovery is a different animal, one that eats patience and refuses cages. Because somewhere, someone owns the secret of where, and the where is wrapped tightly around the who, and the why is tied around both. Maybe the art sits in perfect darkness, colors dormant, hoping for the day museum lights warm them like sunlight through a cracked shutter. Maybe it has traveled so often it now believes no city is home, only the road and whatever hands dare lift it next. And maybe the heist isn't about getting away. Maybe it's about the terrible inheritance of keeping what cannot be shown or shared. Return is not just a transaction. It is a public undoing of a myth, a confession that remakes part of a life story. The empty frames would welcome weight again, their silence replaced by the soft creak of canvas resettling, a room's air exhaling a long-held breath. The museum's mission is clear, almost liturgical. Bring them back, bring them back, bring them back, as if saying it could bend reality. Which leaves us with the paradox we started with, a perfect storm of audacity and restraint, of selections that do not market match the risk taken. If the thieves are gone, then the secret survived them, and secrets tend to gather interest like obscene loans nobody can comfortably repay. Boston has many legends, but this one does not end on a bar stool with a punchline. It ends at an empty wall that stares back. And yet, the frames hang for a reason, materially insisting that hope is not naive, that memory is a kind of warrant issued by time. You can walk those galleries today, trace the outlines of what should be there with a finger suspended in air, and feel the tug. A city, a museum, a dozen agents, a million theories, and still we stand here, listening for a sound we might recognize. So here is our final unanswerable invitation. In whose quiet room does Vermeer's music still play? And who will dare let the world hear it again?